Ladies and gentlemen, I am your host, A. Gary Singh Grewal. Our today's hot topic: China is losing the world's trust following its cover up of the coronavirus crisis. The world has a hard time to trusting China. You can never trust China, can you? Actually, trust was a key component in China's success between 1980 and 2010. Inside China, COVID Cold War with the West was going on. China introduced a new security law for Hong Kong. 5G high-speed wireless critical technology rejected by Australia, UK, and other countries. China's face mask diplomacy and personal protective equipment during China virus. China started dumping steel first and later other products with the help of its own government. They also steal intellectual properties. Their next step was to capture the lands with giving loan to other countries. Who's responsible? We are. Who elect our politicians? Thank you.
That how China is ruthlessly exploiting the coronavirus pandemic it helped cause. And now it's denying all the facts that it even originated from China and blaming it on other countries like US and other countries, right? And China has capitalized this on the world's distraction to claim its sovereignty over disputed lands in South China Sea and intimidate Taiwan and more other countries like Hong Kong in an attempt to squash all these countries. So this is very, very dangerous. And the China's president, Mr. Xi, has also used this as a distraction for the coronavirus pandemic to exert more authority in Hong Kong and crack down on the pro-democracy movement. All this is very, very dangerous and something that also they're doing in some other countries, like vulnerable countries like Africa that are struggling to cope with the coronavirus and its economic impact by offering much needed debt relief. So China is portraying itself that it's trying to help countries in coronavirus pandemic, but what it's actually doing is trying to change the focus from being the originator of coronavirus, turning into the country which is offering relief to countries. So this is all a change in focus from the actual problem to what China is trying to do, because we all know the origin of COVID is actually started from Wuhan.
China was an isolated country economically, socially, and politically. And once they got introduced into the World Trade Organization, they got a lot of freedom to send all their products, while US and Western countries failed to negotiate the proper agreements with China. China exploited all that. So basically, it boils down to Western countries, mainly America, where they have not negotiated these things properly, and they left the loose ends. And now China has become the world #2 power. Soon they're going to be #1. You see, at this point, China has amassed large amount of US currency, and they're using that to their advantage in their neighbors and everywhere in the world. So now it's up to the other countries to be ready. China will do whatever they can. We can continue blaming, or we can come up with the solutions. China is, that they're smart. They dumped into India. My friends in Ludhiana, I'm from Ludhiana, they have manufacturing industries. They all sold and started some other ventures because China has dumped so much product in India.
Yes.
So they're doing with every country, unless we all design something, we come up with our own planning and some, strategy, which has to be put in place. That's going to continue.
Yep, that's a very good point. That's looking positive rather than playing the blame game. Hey, be mature. This country is already on a timeline and a path of success, and they have showed everything. Whether you consider Chinese financial stability, their economic growth, right? From their infrastructure to all the manufacturing, they have taken over in every sector that we talk about. So we can continue blaming them and waste our time, or be positive and make ourselves self-sufficient and start building them in our country and stop depending on China. WHO, which is the World Health Organization, and what actually happened and transpired. So on April 14th, President Donald Trump announced that US will temporarily halt funding to the WHO, World Health Organization, because of the fact that the global health body was too China-centric and was too lenient on Beijing in the early days of the coronavirus pandemic. 2 weeks later, just 2 weeks later, China publicly pledged an additional amount of 30 million in funding to WHO. Chinese Foreign Ministry, Mr. Geng Shuang, said Beijing donated the money because it was defending the ideas and principle of multilateralism and upholding the status and authority of the United Nations.
Maldives will never able to pay that loan back, but they have signed a contract with Maldives that will be under Chinese control until they pay it back. So they know they're not going to pay it back. So that's how they have done in Kenya. They've done with the Sri Lanka, and they're trying to buy ports, airports, and big infrastructure projects into smaller countries where they can bribe their presidents, buy them a palace off land, and then get their liking to the contract, because those countries are not very complicated, sophisticated. They can sign contracts the way Chinese want it. So this is going on at a large scale and in a.
So China has been providing, as we know, medical equipment and physicians in Europe that are struggling currently with the coronavirus outbreak. So that's one. The other thing that they're doing is they are also offering support to Italy, which they provided in March. So Europe, Italy, and then during this pandemic outbreak, right? It has also sent supplies and resources to Serbia, Netherlands, and Spain. So
my brother-in-law has a factory in Shanghai. So I hear a lot, we talk a lot about it. Their plan is to someday make their currency as the monetary policy in the world, becoming a trading currency. And they philosophically agree that they cannot defeat America because they're both nuclear powers. If one nuclear power attacks the other, both of them go down the drain. So they philosophically agree to that point. They want to take control of financial markets in the world. So that's what their plan is.
2021, China would have moderately prosperous society in all respects by 2021. This is what President Xi is planning on. 2035, it would be a world leader in technology and military modernization by 2035. 2049, Beijing's decades-long dispute with Taiwan would be resolved. So this is President Xi's timeline, the 1, 2, 3 points that he has expressed when he was elected.
Amrik Sidhuji?
I think I like what Bani has said, and I agree with Baljinder ji for his comments. But we can't blame China or say, China, stop, take it easy, slow down. We have to make an effort on our side. Trump has pulled United States out of the WHO, stopped the funding. He's out of the WTO, World Trade Organization. He's not participating in NATO. He's not even agreeing with the G7. So once you isolate yourself, it leaves the door open for China. China just moves in. We are making room for China. Hey, we are out of here, you move in. So China is engaged in making its country as number one. We are having in this country our internal election problems. America is consumed with elections. India is having religious issues. They're not focusing on progress in the country or development or anything like that. They're just power hungry at the time. So China has free kind of range. They do whatever they feel like. What Baljinder Singh said about China lending like a predatory lending, yes, they're doing it. Why? Because where else those countries are going to go? US is pulling back. I
Exactly.
was listening to a talk in London, and the question was, is China a foe, a friend, or we don't know? The meeting started with a couple of hundred audience and three very distinguished guest speakers. One was a politician, seasoned politician. One was a journalist, and the third one was a Chinese professor who teaches at the London University. And they were all blaming China because China has territorial issues with all the countries around it, with India, Japan, Taiwan, and some Muslim countries, you name it, with Korea, they have it. And you know what the Chinese professor said? That China's rise to power has been peaceful, and it didn't conquer and colonize. That shut everybody up. They were blaming China, and once she said that, at least China didn't conquer and colonize, which the others were guilty of.
Since 1980, almost 40 years back, nobody can understand China. China was so great, he won the trust that time. Clinton came that time, they opened a door a little more like a friendly to him, to the China. They did it. September 11, when it happened, that China and the United States tried to make an agreement each other against the terrorism. So they get a more benefit also. China made a good trust that way. But slowly, when they are stealing our intelligent properties also, they are dumping steel here also. And every corner, they did it. They try to win that way. Any third world country, we are not supposed to depend upon our medical staff, our medicine, other little manufacturing that belong to intelligence. We suffer a lot. I feel it. That solution is very simple. I know. Australia tried to be banned their G5. Even England did it, and we didn't do it. India didn't do it. So right now, war is going on, and Corona, all that stuff is happening. So this is a different issue. How China we can trust it? The United States must have to be produce their stuff inside. Does not matter 20% cost more. People are ready to buy it. We have seen it even last 40 years. We have gone through that way. This is my answer for that.
Say a large amount of US firms have a lot of initiatives in China, which is large and have a growing market. And that is actually affecting US's economy and helping China, right? Because it is in the interest of Chinese economy and their growth. And such industrial policies is actually a theft to the US intellectual property. We have to think like that. And how we can combat those issues is something we need to start thinking, how we can start working on them right today, where we stop having some of those US firms in China and start building things in US and make ourselves independent for all these things.
Right now, Trump is raising about $70-80 million a month for election. Biden has done a little bit better. He's raised 100 million. And that's all they're doing. They're not doing anything for America.
Yes.
They are not focused on it. All they're focused on is getting elected.
Yes.
China, on the other hand, is doing whatever it needs to get ahead in the world. If we are going to be spending out of a 4-year presidential term or any other member of the government term, or 1.5 to 2 years on just campaigning for re-election. When will we have enough time to focus on American issues? We don't, nobody has time for American issues. So that's where China is getting ahead, because they are not worried about. And look at what Putin did recently. He's
Yeah, because
he's
China
gonna be
has
elected till
long-term plans.
2036. No re-election needed anymore.
Yes.
Let Baniji, let Kaljinder say something. Can I?
Because China is, I think, working on long-term plans, because so they are dealing with the different issues with different countries, even like surrounding countries over there. So they have like some countries, they have tough relations. Some of them, they are just giving money to build their infrastructure and then take over that infrastructure so that they can use their like ports, their infrastructure, or whatever equipment or anything they can use from that country, because most of those countries, they cannot pay back the debt which China is giving them. So in that case, I think even locally in that region, it's going to be a different scenario in like coming 5 to 10 years. But if we are talking about US, because we have different problems over here also. Because we, like even import and export, there's a big difference, like how much stuff we are sending overseas and how much is coming from China. And everybody is going to suffer, I think, in long term, because China has a cheaper labor, or you can say like how they manufacture their products. It's all coming out cheaper from all over the world. Even like India can't compete with them. So I think in the long term, we are going to see a big change in like from 5 to 10 years. Thinking about like small products or bigger products, but when somebody send any information to China so that they can manufacture the product based on our design, and like within few weeks, they just launched their own product on the same design.
All the congressmen has they're the shareholders in companies who are manufacturing in China. So our industrial policy is the worst one. If a company can move their head office from US, one of them is sitting head office in Ireland, they don't pay those taxes what the local companies pay. So the capital is sitting outside of the country, and all these people are getting the money back from China being the shareholders. So our politicians in the US has become so much corrupt that their own interest has become like some of the third world countries. So this is not a small problem. This problem is getting bigger by the day. If you look on a macro scale in the whole world, you see, if you look in the history, the socialism failed, communism failed, the capitalism actually failed in 2009 when Lehman Brothers went down. So, but China has come up with, they created a hybrid model of the communism, where they created a designated areas for foreigners to come and manufacture, do the work, and they enjoy the benefit of exporting those products and bringing the foreign exchange and become the world power financially.
US is isolating itself from the world.
Exactly.
It has natural resources. That's fine, but it still needs manufacturing, and it's not focusing on that sector. It
Very
needs
important.
to. We need to be not dependent upon China if we are going to remain a power. If we're going to remain an influential power, we need to be reliant upon our own manufacturing sector, and that it is not doing. Even India is suffering. I mean, India has cheap labor, but India is not kind of taking advantage of the technology. Indian technologists, as soon as they get very good, they move to the US. India is not benefiting from its
No.
boom
Right, right,
of technical engineers. They just moved to the US.
Understand, you and I are in US, right? So why we
Yeah.
are here? Because of a better life,
Yeah.
because of a better economic situation, because of jobs.
China is bringing back American educated scientists, engineers, designers back to China. India isn't doing that. India has cheap labor, but it also needs the technology, the
Yes.
sector to develop India. But it's all it's concerned about is the religious kind of fighting between themselves. They don't need that. They just need to move ahead and be the player in the world.
That's
And
a
if India, whoever
very
doesn't do that, China is not stopping and waiting for any one of them. China is moving full speed ahead. So
Yep.
you can't blame China for moving the way they are. We can blame ourselves for not keeping up.
start doing
India has all that. India has more highly qualified engineers, scientists, doctors than China.
Yes, absolutely. Any day.
India has that. India produces more of them every year. It just
Yes.
not retain them. It
Yes.
just lets them go.
So,
Yes.
Mriq ji, next week may be possible. We have a other topic here. India, is it India can be digital in future? That's a different issue. Then let me say one thing here. Do you think anybody give an answer? Does not matter. The election is going on. You know, everybody knows. Do you think any change does not matter? Democrat, come, Republic. Do you think because public is my survey showing that more than 70%, especially NRIs, they always say that okay, we must have to be produce stuff here. We must have a manufacturing essential stuff that we are begging it the last 6 months. Or they play the game also. There's a proof. China delay that to Australia. They are essential stuff, medical area, and they also delay here also. But they give other countries, 4 or 5 countries. They were very happy. They say, "Hey, China is just like our brother." So, but they try to be play game every place. Do you think you have seen that what is happening last 3 months here in the United States? Do you think the people will accept this in future? It will be continued like that. China will control us like this. China can be trusted. This is my issue here right now. I'm just a question. Anyway, Balaji, you can give an answer for that.
China is nobody's friend. Remember,
Exactly. Thank you.
they
This was my
they
answer.
they're their own friends.
Their own
And
friend.
the dangerous part is that China has high level of controls within them, their own country.
Yes.
While in the Western countries, our freedoms are killing us, actually. It's not, I don't want to say that, people may not like it, but
Yes.
in China, why they control coronavirus? They just don't spare anybody. They just pick the person, spray them like a dog, and then put them in 14 days. There is no going back and forth. So they have a tight control on their policies, and that's leading to no corruption. You know, their senior policy makers, even in the Politburo of China, who got involved into corruption, they got hanged. They get eliminated.
Yes.
So China has eliminated corruption and brought the control into their business side, and of course that created the trust level. People start to say, "Hey, China can do that. Let's place the order there." So that's just comparison. We need to step up the plate and be at that level or even better. That's all up to us, the policymakers in this country, which they have to do it. Otherwise, it's going to get worse before it gets better.
So you are saying that Democrat come, they do better job, or the Republican can do better job?
It is not the political party. It is the policies which they have to set up to make the changes.
Okay.
Industrial policies.
Industrial.
So even like from US, I think we cannot like make everything over here. But ultimately, it has to be a policy decision, like what we are going to do over here and how much product is going to come from overseas and from which countries, because that's also important. Like, we should not just rely on one country.
Amrik ji,
Just want to make one point. Recently, JPL engineers, they designed a new ventilator. It works much better than the one that we had, and it was much cheaper. But you know what the problem was? All the raw materials had to come from China.
Yes.
right, right.
They want to 3D print a screen. But you know, the 3D printer machine comes from China.
Yep.
And the raw materials come from China.
Yeah.
So we have to go back to the drawing board. We have to start our raw materials here.
Yeah.
Yes.
We want to set up a production line. The steel is going to have to come from Taiwan. We don't have steel here. Steel production is gone. It's a very, very tough, but hard job making steel. So we farmed it out. Where are we going to get the steel from? Where are we going to get the plastic from? You know, we can make all the masks we want, but the textile comes from China.
Yep.
India should have been right there, step right in. Okay, I'll supply you all the textile you need. Even they didn't do it.
Balaji, go ahead. Balaji, wrap up.
Andy, I'll just finish my comments saying that the problem with India is that they cannot enforce the contract. Foreign companies, they met with Modi. They said, we have just one question. Can you enforce a contract in India? The judicial system is there. They cannot enforce. Even if you try to enforce, they cannot collect it. So there goes everything. People don't trust that. Now, next thing is China. What I see, China is going to make further progress. America is going to go down further until we come to realize our politician is not realized yet. The parties don't realize. I think the time has come that every citizen has to take responsibility. On our kitchen table, we should have a number for the local politician and the federal politician. And we need to ask them question, where is my son or daughter going to find a job? If the son becomes engineer, daughter becomes, something in that field, where are they going to find the job? You guys are going to create policies where we have a wealth creation in this country. You know, when you find a raw material and convert into a manufactured goods, that's called wealth creation. The wealth is being created in Far East right now. So therefore, this will go further down until there is somebody challenge today's politician. Thank you.
Let me close also there. I'm very optimistic. Okay. I feel that last 1 year, especially 6 months, that a lot of changes are here anyway. I think they are on the right track. If they don't, that will be next election to next election, that will be continue to be, they will be out. People, because technology, social media, and other, you can see that husband can give a vote to Democratic, then wife can give to Republican. It's happening now, even children. So everybody is different. So I'm very optimistic that will be, we have a power, we can bring a change, and mostly all communities, Chinese, Indian, anybody in the United States, they should be get together. We have to make our own club in future. That will be, we can talk to the politicians. I appreciate it. Thank you very much.